Chapter 1151. That's enough. I've got this. I know. This chapter... Okay, I'm not even going to say that because I think this chapter was equally as important and impactful as the last chapter. You could argue even more so because we get more context in regards to actually what's going on. So I really like this one. I'm not gonna lie, I really like this one. Cover story. Same complaints. Boring, not going anywhere. Why are we still focusing on Yamato? Let's do something else. Still my same reaction. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, this cover story, it started off too important not to be important. Start off showing Wano underwater or old Wano underwater. So give it time. Just give it time. It'll be fine. The pilgrimage is over. Yamato's just going through Wano at this point, just doing stuff, doing random stuff. We'll see what comes of that. But I think just it's gonna go somewhere. I'm really confident in it going somewhere. The complaints, we gotta just stop. But you guys know the vibes. Let's get to the chapter now because it's a lot to talk about. Domi Reversi, right? Dory, Brogy, they've both been turned, obviously. And we're at a place now where the others are begging Dory and Brogy to snap out of it because Dory and Brogy, they're talking crazy. They're saying, yo, Elder Jarrell is a legend. You can't do this. They're like, yo, we idolized him, but he's a broken man now. And it's up to us to put him out of his misery. And I don't know what this does because, of course, it's based on Reversi. Did some research on Reversi. These are the basics of Reversi. Two players compete using 64 identical pieces or discs that are light on one side and dark on the other. Each player chooses one color to use throughout the game. Players take turns placing one disc on an empty square with their assigned color facing up. After a player has made any disc of the opponent's color that lie in a straight line bounded by the one just played and another one in the current player's color are turned over. When all playable empty squares are filled, the player with more discs showing in their own color wins the game. Ultimately, what it made me think of? When Shamrock talked about making a game out of all this. So I'm like, is this Emu's power or is Emu pulling from another person's power? Right? Because Emu is the one that's able to turn, right? But is this Emu's core power or is this Emu pulling from someone else? Because we think Emu's connected to a bunch of different people. So with Shamrock talking about the game, is Emu pulling from Shamrock's power that he laid out? But we didn't see any of this Reversi happening while Shamrock was there before Emu showed up. So it begs the question, what exactly is going on? We did see the board. We saw the board for sure. So it's a game that's happening. And it seems like the other God Knights were aware of the board saying, hey, most of the board is already black. So you start to wonder, right? How is this going to play out? And how far does it go? Is it a literal board that Emu has that the God Knights have access to because they have a possible mark? It starts to make your mind wonder. Now, also, the impact on the characters that have been turned. Dory and Brogy, they care about battle, the love of the game, right? That's what they enjoy. After they've gotten turned, they've turned into almost like mindless monsters that are hell-bent on being in control. No gods, no ruler, just them. And so they're asking Dory and Brogy, what's going on? This is not like you. So here's the thing. It doesn't completely change, I guess, you and your code necessarily. And I want to make sure I'm saying this the right way. It almost like it makes you a worse or amplified version of what you already are. Because they did care about strength. They did care about battle. In this sense, they care about it even more so to the point that they want to be the ones in control. Where they went from it being about battle and their specific matchups to it being about basically turning it into a meritocracy where it is ruled by the strong, what Kaido wanted. So it's, again, people are floored because saying, yo, guys, this isn't, you're not the same people. It's not a complete change per se. I don't know what to make of it. It's not like alcohol, right? But kind of is. Bro, this is weird. But it's interesting because the mindset is not flipped completely, but it's amplified, right? Even after Tall Man got turned, he said, I feel amazing. Obviously, it's a surge of power. They get bigger. It seems like they get a bit more primal. So maybe it unlocks your true desires. Maybe that's what it is. Like, for instance, if Zoro got turned, right? We know Zoro cares about strength and growing stronger and becoming the world's greatest swordsman. It seems like it just amplifies those desires. Not saying that Dory and Brogy necessarily care about being the strongest and ruling ELBAPH, but they do care about being strong. So for Tall Man, he says it feels amazing. It's power surging throughout his body. It's actually crazy just what it does to each individual. What's not discussed or talked about here is like if anybody can withstand it. Because I don't think you can just turn everybody. There's no way. It has to be some limitations to it. Has to be a cap. Like if you can turn Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, which I think would be interesting. Not Luffy turning necessarily, but Zoro and Sanji. What's the limit? How far can this go? Well, it's kind of like sugar, but not really. So I'm worried about the limits of this actual technique. Now, we're getting to the point where people are finding out what's going on, where Gabon got taken down, right? Ripley, and they're like, yo, how? How could this be possible? And the more I read One Piece, the more I come to a conclusion. Things are never as they seem. Everything that happens, question it. Question absolutely everything. Don't just go with the flow. Don't just believe anything. Even if it's a character that is reliable, don't believe what they say. Remember Jimbeay? Jimbeay had his information about Kuma. Ended up being completely wrong. So I think at the end of the day, no matter who it is, no matter what happens, you have to question it until you see exactly what happens. Because Oda, he is really good at situations and different things being warped by so many factors. So in this case, all people know is that Gabon got defeated. They had no idea about Gunko using a hostage, about Colin being in trouble. Oh, Gabon got defeated. How could somebody do this? Our perspective, of course, we saw it. So we're like, well, yeah, he had that, situation where he had to give up. For them, they don't know. So it's just like, well, Gabon got defeated. That is insane. This person must be really powerful, which they are, but it's so much more context to the situation, which Oda, one of the gems and the strengths of One Piece, creating a scenario where perspectives vary and that creates propaganda amongst a certain situation. And then some of that propaganda becomes truth to the masses. So in this situation, it's the same thing. Obviously, Gabon is strong. Obviously, Imu's strong, but we don't get the full story. We just get like what people feel about it in the aftermath. Very genius, I think. The nightmares are back. Killingham did tell Imu that, hey, it's fine. They can just come back as many times as I would like. We see this character that says, yo, things are really heating up. I'm like, yo, who is this guy? No need to hold back now that a certain someone's shown up. I'm like, okay, a new God Knight. That's lit. I'll scroll down a little bit. Killingham? Okay, hybrid form. And Killingham, the actual form, design, gives me a completely different vibe than the full form does. The full form gives me studious, right? Support, patient. This design, reckless, impatient, dark. This design gives off a completely different vibe, and I like it, all right? I like what I'm getting here from this form of Killingham, and I'm like, yo, God Knights, y'all are shooting 100% right now. Shamrock, Gunko, Sommers, and Killingham, all fire. All fire so far. He's like, yo, Imu's here. Turn up, man. I'm with it, man. I love the design. I really love Killingham's OG, not OG, but true form. I like it. Something Killingham said was so Celestial Dragon. I was like, of course. Because he's saying, rampage my nightmares. But then he says, ELBAPH, this is your doing. You brought these monsters into the world. It reminds me of Celestial Dragons when they would do something to even Kuma or Clap. They would say, this is your doing for being born like this. This is your fault for being so powerful. This is you. You're the one that deserves this. So it's like he has it down pat where they punish you and they blame you for pain and things, pain and suffering, and saying you brought it upon yourself for whatever specific circumstance. And it's like, just forget accountability. This is on y'all. I'm like, this is Celestial Dragon 101. A true Celestial. Killingham, you are true Celestial. I'm not going to pile on, right? Because Jimbeay says, ha ha, things have certainly spiraled out of control. Yeah, you think? And this is not a Jimbeay thing, right? Because we understand how competent Jimbeay is and how competent Jimbeay has been for most of the story. He's parked right now. And this is a more plot thing where Jimbeay's just put in a position where we don't have to use him yet, and it hurts. I can't lie. I believe a lot of people echo my sentiments where they're like, come on, man, why are you doing this to Jimbeay? But I had mentioned this at the beginning. When Jimbeay just joined the crew, I'm like, we have nothing to do with him, right? At the end of the day, he is a luxury item. And once it's time to use Jimbeay, we will use Jimbeay. But it does not feel good seeing Jimbeay just standing there saying, things have really spiraled out of control. Jimbeay, you are one of the senior members, not in regard to just how long you've been on the crew, but you are a grizzled vet. So much experience, so many different things that you've been through. Bro, do something. But I'm not necessarily blaming Jimbeay. It is just how the story has to go right now because, we know. Don't give up on Usopp yet. This is an important moment for him because he's seeing his heroes, Dory and Brogy, turning on their country. These men of so much pride of being from ELBAPH. They're turning on ELBAPH and saying they're going to be in control. They're going to be the strong ones. And Usopp's like, yo, Dory, Brogy, like, this isn't you guys. You have a lot of pride. How can you do this? And so I know Usopp fans have been waiting for a long time for Usopp to do something to live up to the hype that we thought was going to happen going into post-time skip. The new design, everybody was amped up. I was too. Usopp been working now. He's been going crazy. Don't give up yet. I know we're close. Don't give up yet. I think we could still have an amazing Usopp moment in ELBAPH, and just give me some inkling of hope. Seriously. I saw them trying to give Saul some love, saying, hey, no wonder Saul got taken out. These people are incredible. And it was like, sure, that's sure, I guess. But even the people of ELBAPH, they're still fighting for their children. Like, yo, wait, I'm going to come, right? We're showing the pride of ELBAPH in a different way because I think this chapter a lot is about pride. And they're still showing their pride because, it's just overwhelming right now. And even Killingham and Summers and Emu talks about it. Well, they ask Emu, like, okay, what's next? How far are we going to take this? And Killingham's like, the board is already basically in our favor. And Emu's response is, let's press on until it shatters. Because Killingham is talking about his nightmares, saying they're made of pure malice and that if we rage, they'll eventually destroy themselves. And then they ask, until what shatters? And he says, the pride of ELBAPH. Well, verbatim, the spirit of ELBAPH. So they're trying to crush the spirit and take over that way so that people have basically no hope. Ultimately, the world government wants to take away control, take away your spirit. They want to break you so that they can control you no matter what. And Emu says something very important here. He said, had Harold not blundered in that critical hour, this nation would have long been beneath my control. So basically, Harold did something to save ELBAPH, actually. Where in this situation, Ja Rule, Loki, Harold, it seems like all parties involved played a role into saving ELBAPH. You can't help but think about Harold sacrificing himself for ELBAPH. So more than likely, he got Domi reversied. And all these things that played out, all these things that happened, Loki killing him, Ja Rule being there, even some of the soldiers, it makes sense considering, bro, they turned Dorian Brogy, but other soldiers were getting caught up in the mix. So maybe those soldiers that Loki took out, they weren't even meant to be turned, but because they were close to Harold, Domi reversied, Harold got turned, these other people got turned, and Harold, maybe he overcame the Domi reversi and stopped for Loki to kill him because, bro, that's what makes the most sense here. In a way, Emu is blaming Harold and they want to kill Ja Rule. So we can say Loki's the traitor, but I think, again, what I mentioned earlier, there's always more to the story. There's always a button to click to subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? It's time to subscribe and like the video. But seriously, I think I never believe things at face value in One Piece, ever. No matter what they say, I'm like, show it. Show and prove. We got to see it. In this situation where Harold, Ja Rule, and Loki, show and prove. Tell me what happened. I'm not going to blame Ja Rule. I'm not blaming Harold right now. I'm not blaming Loki. What happened? Because things are never as they seem. So either way, they are trying to break the people of ELBAPH, break the spirit of ELBAPH, the strongest country in the world. They're trying to break it and control it because that gives them so much firepower and it amplifies their fighting strength. So Emu is as dastardly as we thought they were. It's crazy. So now we're in the realm of the dead. Big W's for Chopper, okay? Big W's for Chopper. Chopper jumped over, was curious from the jump about how to hurt the God Knights, went and saved Yasan. Now, as they're falling down, because it's a few minutes earlier, they fell, and Luffy's immediately like, oh, that's Chopper. Then after the fact, he's like, wait, how did I know that was Chopper? So I'm like, did Luffy's observation haki grow? Or is it voice of all things? Because it's instinctive. Mantra? Are we at the place now where Luffy doesn't have to turn on observation haki? Because, that's something that we don't talk about a lot. Observation haki is not constantly on. I think Katakuri spoiled us because he's always using future sight. That it's like, it's something that you actively have to use. So for Luffy, he didn't even use it. In my opinion, this signifies growth. People could say like, he always had it, but I'm like, he didn't even realize what he was doing. Just like, I knew it was Chopper. What? Maybe the more he uses Gear 5, the more his powers get amplified. Who knows? But this was something that was impressive for him to know right away. Right? Loki also sensed somebody falling, and then there's a discrepancy going on because haki and how it impacts characters, or Sea Stone, and how it impacts characters using haki. Because we've seen how Sea Stone impacts people's haki when they're captured, but we've also seen people use haki while it's having Sea Stone with no problem. So it could be that Sea Stone weakens haki, obviously, but it doesn't completely nullify your haki. It does that for Devil Fruit, but it impacts haki. It doesn't completely nullify it. So Loki was able to sense, but also the most important thing here is Loki's conversation with Mosa. Now, what's going on? Mosa's saying, hey, I'm just calling you to basically talk to you one last time. I appreciate our friendship. And Loki's just dropping like Oda hints, like, huh? That nasty thing again? You're at that place? And of course, my thought goes to Marijoa, where it's like, okay, Marijoa is under fire right now. Is this person from there? Because I'm thinking that Loki met someone, Mosa, on his journey when he was trying to go to Marijoa, when he left ELBAPH, and this person became a good friend of his, right? This person may be someone he saved, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, this person is somebody I think outside of ELBAPH that he grew close to, and now this person is in a situation where they can't communicate anymore. So Loki 1000%, I mean, he tried to leave ELBAPH before. I think if you look at it from the perspective of Loki was trying to even save ELBAPH by leaving here, going to Celestial Dragons and trying to take down the world government by himself, and Shanks stopping him, it's like, Shanks, like, did Loki explain to you what's going on? Because Loki doesn't seem like the explanation type. He's like, yo, get out of my way. I have a mission. So Shanks like, I can't. I gotta take you back, bro. Like, your problem. So I'm all in on Loki and whatever he wants to do. I think he's going to be one of those misunderstood characters because he's not going to explain everything. I think even going into the chapter when we're getting into the flashback, he's saying, yo, like, do you want to hear about what happened to dad? And Harry's like, you killed our father. He's like, he's my dad too. So he still respects his dad and he's not telling the entire story, but he's close. He's close, and like his interactions with Mosa and caring about Mosa, and even Gerd hearing it say, yo, don't tell anybody. Loki's not a bad dude. We've been saying that. We don't think he's a bad dude. He's not a good dude, but he's not a bad dude. He may have good intentions and things may go awry. And so let me see what happened. That's all. Just let me see. One of the funniest moments from the chapter is when Luffy is like, oh, so you're a big shot, huh? And they're like, yo, this actually is Scott Bond, right? This is a big shot. Luffy's like, what? No way. He was on the parking crew. Like, he was there with, he must know Shanks. Of course, Luffy brings everything back to Shanks, right? That's just how he's wired. So they're talking. One of the giants is like, yo, yeah, he's one of the parking crew. He's probably the third strongest on the crew. And I think, again, Oda using situations and just giving us a perspective and seeing how we're going to run with it and completely destroying it in another statement. Because he says he's probably third strongest. And we had Yasan, right? He's hurt. He's battered. He mustered up the strength to say, actually, I was second strongest, right? I thought that was hilarious. And it's like, he couldn't let that comment slide. I can just see it playing out in the anime where it's just like, they're just like shocked and they're like flabbergasted that he took the time out to say that. Zoro and Sanji vibes, right? It's a gag. Who do I think is stronger? Doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter at this point. However, I thought that vibe was funny. I thought it was perfect. And just, it goes along with what we expect from Sanji and Zoro. And hey, I'm here for it. I'm not mad at it. At this point, Yasun says he's number 2. I guess he's number 2, man. I guess he's number 2 until we hear from Rayleigh. Rayleigh, what do you got to say about yourself? I guess he's number 2. So in the midst of this, Chopper's bringing them up to speed, saying, yo, we need you guys. And at the same time, crazy hockey's raining down. Yasun is looking up. Like, they're like, yo, this is crazy. And Luffy's like, basically, bro, I got this. Don't worry about this. I got it. And Loki's laughing because he's like, it seems like you're going to need my power after all. So Loki understands that it is an insane battle going on. Funny enough, I don't think Imu's the last combatant that comes here. I think more people actually show up, and Loki's ready to embrace it. Now, the matchups, we'll talk about the matchups in another video. Either way, we are full steam ahead, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely love this chapter. I can't wait to see what happens going forward. So many storylines are set in motion. What's going on with Mosa and Loki? What's that relationship like? How did it start? Where does it go? Loki going up there to help the Straw Hats fight. Who does he fight? How does it play out? What does Loki do after? We have I was going to say Gunkmu, but we have Emu up there with Summers, Killingham. Who fights them? Because they're rampaging right now. We have the giants, Dory, Brogy. They're about to destroy ELBAPH and take control. You have Ripley up there trying to find Colin. We need to corral everything. Things are going awry, and this is the peak of ELBAPH. One of the peaks. I think we have maybe some more moments to go, but this is where, okay, where do we go from here? Luffy, Gear 5, let's get it. It's time. So, guys, let me know how you feel about the chapter. I thought it was an amazing chapter, just as good as last week, if not better, because we get more context. The Reversi board, what's going on there, right? Is that an actual board that's being used? Is this used to just give us a visual of how things are going on the battlefields? I want to know, this game, does it tie back to Shamrock and his plan, right? Is this a Killingham thing? So we want to know exactly what's going on, and Oda's giving us bits and pieces, as Oda typically does. Great chapter. I can't stress that enough. Let me know what you think. What was your favorite part of the chapter? Was it Loki and those boys? I was really happy to see them again, right? Emu's talking crazy, saying he's trying to break the spirit of ELBAPH. Who do you think you are? I mean, he's Emu, but still, great chapter. Like the video, subscribe. Shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys hold it down. You guys support. If you'd like to check it out, link in the description down below. So much on there. Anything you can think of. Well, not anything, right? One Piece. Recently watched The Last of Us, Breaking Bad, whatever. Down there, like and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.